Hi everyone and welcome to the comic room. Except today I'm not actually in the comic room because it's far too hot. We're experiencing some really hot days here in the UK just at the minute, and it's around about 30 degrees and my comic room is just very hot. I've got the blinds closed, trying to do everything I can to keep things cool, but it's just so hot in there. So anyway, I thought just for a change we'll come into a different part of the apartment, and I'm actually in the dining area to do this video. Need to apologise, it's been about a month since I did my last YouTube video. The reason for this mainly is because we've been enjoying living in our new place so much that most of our spare time we've actually been out and about doing things. So it's meant that I've not had a lot of time to kind of do this kind of stuff or even read my books. But I've had a big lifestyle change in the last couple of weeks, which is hopefully going to help with that. I've actually done something which is called flexible retirement, which means that I'm going to be continuing to work for 3 days a week, but I'm also going to be able to draw my works pension. So top and bottom for me is that I'm not going to be any less well off in terms of my income, but I'm going to be actually only working 3 days. So for me, it was kind of a no-brainer decision to be able to do that. So it means that hopefully I'm going to have some more spare time and I'll be able to do more videos, which is great. The upshot of not doing anything for about the last month is that I've been accumulating quite a lot of books. So I've got a pile here, I've also got 2 other piles in the comic room. These are in addition to my regular pulls. I mean, as you know, I don't kind of show off my regular weekly pull. I like to show off just things that are a bit more interesting, hopefully for you to look at. When I started getting my books together ready for this video, I found that I just had too many for a single video, so I've kind of split them into 2, and tomorrow I'll do a second video where I show that other lot of books off. So anyway, without further ado, I've kind of been gabbing on for a bit too long anyway. Let's get into the books. Firstly, I'm going to start with Marvel. Now, if you've watched my recent videos, you'll know that I'm a big fan of the facsimile editions, which they seem to be producing now with a bit more regularity. I was looking at one of the Marvel previews for, I think it's next month, and they're actually releasing 4 of these next month. It did used to be just every now and again they'd do the odd one. Anyway, what I have picked up in the last 2 or 3 weeks: New Mutants 98. Hope you can see this okay. Yeah, New Mutants 98. As I mentioned in my last video where I was showing off quite a few of these facsimiles, these are absolutely brilliant if you don't have the originals, or if you do have the originals but you don't want to risk reading them. They're just a great way to actually read the story and see all the original advertisements that were included, because they are an identical reproduction of the original issue. So I picked up that one. And I've also picked up, I think this was last week, I got Giant Size X-Men #1. You won't be able to tell, but this is a thick old book, because obviously it's a reproduction of the Giant Size. And as it says, it's 68 pages. Now this was a bit more expensive. This was a $4.99 book, whereas the regular facsimile, the regular sized ones, they're $3.99. So you do pay $1 or $1 equivalent more for this, but obviously it's well worth it. I'm not a big fan of Marvel books, but I do like to buy them when it's either the facsimile ones or if there's particular covers that really appeal to me. And one of those that falls into the second category is Marvel's number 13 with this cover by Adi Granoff, Vision and Scarlet Witch. It's an absolutely gorgeous cover. When I actually saw this solicited, I couldn't believe that this was a regular cover. You don't get a great deal of covers now that Adi Granoff does that are for regular issues. They tend to be for more exclusives, ratio variants or store variants. So when I saw this and how gorgeous this cover is, I was just absolutely amazed by it. So I did actually pick up a second copy and a third copy. Now, something else that I saw, and I think I'm right in saying that this was exclusive to the UK, was a Virgin copy. I'm not sure, this may have been an exclusive to limited edition comics here in the UK, but had to have it. Now, as well as being a big Granoff fan, I'm also a big fan of Artgerm. You'll know that if you've watched my previous videos. So another book that I had to get. Whoa! Sorry about that. Trashing the place. Was a copy of Arrow number 1 with a beautiful Artgerm cover. I've not read this and I probably won't even read it. It was purely a cover purchase. But very, very nice. Now, Artgerm is currently doing the covers for the B covers for the current run of Catwoman for DC, and this was issue number 12. Most people watching this have probably already got this cover, but when I saw this, when it was first, I think I first saw it when it was on Artgerm's Facebook page. I just thought this was just so amazing. Very nostalgic looking, and I love things like that. So obviously that was on my pull list straight away. And I got a second copy of that. And I got a third copy of that. And I got a fourth copy of that. And I got a fifth copy of that. Now, when I've been looking on some of the Facebook groups, and a lot of people are obviously into the comic book speculation, I'm into that a little bit, not so much. But the general consensus seems to be that these Artgerm covers have got no spec value, which may be the case. If not, I'm going to be left with a lot of really, really nice covers on my hands. But kind of the way that I view this is in terms of, I look back and I see some of the Adam Hughes covers that are from maybe a few years ago, and I'm thinking of, for example, his Wonder Woman covers. Now, these are a few years old, but if you look for them on eBay, they do pick up pretty decent, or they do sell for pretty decent prices. So the way I look at it is I'm thinking in terms of people who are not interested in comics at the moment, but maybe in a few years' time, maybe youngsters or, I don't know, older people who used to read comics and are now getting back into them, but are not around at the moment actively to pick up these books. I think if I was not a collector now, but I became a collector in a few years, and I was looking at comic books from years gone by, and I see these, I'd be desperate to get hold of copies of these. So that's kind of the way I'm thinking when I'm buying multiple copies of these. I think in the future They're not going to be like key issues and commanding hundreds of pounds or hundreds of dollars, but I reckon there'll be a market for them to be able to sell these on and get a nice price for them. So that's my thinking. Let me know in the comments what you think about that kind of stuff. And then also I've picked up the next issue, which is Catwoman number 13, I believe. Another Artgerm cover. Again, beautiful one. This is one of the cardstock covers that DC are producing for the Year of the Villains storyline. I think I've got another copy of this that I bought that's in a package that I've not opened yet. Right, okay, so that's kind of my more regular books that I've picked up recently. Now we'll move on to some of the more special, more limited, more exclusive books. Something that you might not be familiar with is this independent book, and it's The Rejected. Now when this first came out, this is actually a second print. When it first came out, the first print, I think it was limited to about 1,000 issues, and I wasn't lucky enough to get a copy of it, and since then the prices have gone up, so I've kind of shied away from it. But then not that long ago they did do a second print. Again, this was very limited, but I was lucky enough to get hold of this, and I think it's a really, really nice cover. This is more like almost like a graphic novel rather than a regular comic book. It is quite thick. It's square bound, which you can just about see by that. And this is from Source Point Press. The cover price was $5.99, but I paid more than that, even though it was on the week of release. I think I might have paid about £12 for it, which I was happy to do because it is exclusive, it's limited, and I really wanted to read the story. Not too long after, they released the second issue of The Rejected, and this is The Rejected, The Unwilling. This is a first print, and I was lucky enough to get that at cover price. Again, I think this was a $5.99 book, and I probably paid about £5 for it. So I'm now going to be able to read both of those issues back to back, which is really good. Now, another thing you'll know about me, if you're one of my regular viewers, is Anne. I'm going to stop there just for a second. While it's in my head, I don't want to forget. A big thing happened this week. I actually got 250 subscribers, which I was absolutely amazed by and knocked out by. So I want to give a big thank you to all of my subscribers. I really appreciate you subscribing, and if you actually watch my videos, I really appreciate that as well. So to reach 250 is a massive milestone for me. And what I'm going to do, my subscriber numbers have got a habit of going to a certain number and then going back again to a few less. So I'm going to see if I actually maintain the 250 for a couple of weeks, and if I do and I don't fall back, I'm actually going to do a 250 subscriber contest. So keep a lookout for that. So sorry about that, it was just in my head, I didn't want to forget. As I was saying, if you do watch my videos on a regular basis, you'll know that I'm a big fan of Kickstarters. And one of the Kickstarters that I've followed and backed right from the start is Brian Pulido and Coffin Comics, particularly the Lady Death. He does other ones as well, La Muerta, things like that. But Lady Death is the big thing that I'm interested in. And not very long ago, maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I received my reward package from the latest Lady Death Kickstarter, which is Lady Death Scorched Earth. And the cover that I decided to go for was the homage cover, which is obviously a homage to Captain America. And I know somebody who'd be particularly interested in this if he's watching. That's my good mate Ken, who is Mr. Captain America himself. If you've not checked out his channel, do so immediately. Ken Worthing. He's a great guy, and he is, as far as I'm concerned, nobody knows more about Captain America comics than he does. So check him out. So Ken, I hope you like this one. And one of the stretch goals that came with the Kickstarter, so this was completely free on top of what I'd already paid, was a second copy of Scorched Earth. But this is actually a black and white pencils version. So it's the full story, same amount of pages, identical, but it's just got the pencils. And it's a really, really nice way to see the original artwork. And obviously it's got a different cover as well. So very happy to get that. If you do want to check out Brian Pulido's Kickstarters, they really are worth doing, because he sets himself quite a small target, but he always gets like massive funds beyond what he's asking for, which enables him to do tons and tons of stretch goals. So as well as getting the books that you order, you get a big pack of freebies as well, which is really good, really nice to get. Something that's been a bit hit and miss in terms of its publication scheduling is White Widow by Jamie Tyndall. But I've picked up issue number 2. I've not read issue 1 or 2 yet. I figured because the issues are so slow to be coming out that by the time you've read one, you've got like, I don't know, 6-8 weeks to wait before you read the next issue. So I'm going to wait until there's a good 3 or 4 issues been released before I even read these. But again, I'm buying them principally for the covers on this occasion, because Jamie Tyndall is doing all the main covers, and he's doing a good chunk of some of the more rarer variants as well. But that's a really nice cover for issue number 2. I think there's a second printing coming out. I'm sure I've seen a picture of it, which is the same image, but White Widow's a little bit more scantily clad in it. So keep an eye out for that one. And of course it's another foil cover, which you may be able to tell. One thing I've found with these White Widow issues is that I'm not sure whether it's something to do with the way that these are printed, whether it's the paper that's used, whether it's the ink, but when I've bagged them with regular bags, within a few days, the bags have all crinkled up like they're 20 years old. So what I've had to do is all my copies of White Widow I've had to transfer into Mylars, but it does make the colours pop. But it's just a bit strange. I've never come across that before with comics. It's obviously when you've had comics that might have been bagged and boarded in the original bags and boards for 20 years, the bags are in an awful state, but these were getting in a terrible state after just a few days. So it's quite strange. Picked up a second copy of that. And picked up a third copy. I also picked up a copy of issue 2, but this is the Mike DeBalfo lenticular cover. I don't know if you're going to be able to, if this is going to work very well. There you go, you can just see that. The White Widow costume appears. That's really, really nice. Sorry about the glare, but again, I've had to put it in Mylar. But that's nice. Very nice Mike DeBalfo cover. Something that I picked up from eBay recently is a book that it's kind of been on my radar for a little while. I'm always on the lookout for key issues, but not so much major keys that are kind of way out of my price range, but minor keys that are more affordable. and I managed to get this copy of X Factor number 6, which is the first appearance of Apocalypse. Very, very nice condition. It was described as being, I think, very fine to near mint, and when it arrived, I had a really good look through it, a good check of the covers, the interior pages, and it is beautiful condition. It must be 9.4, I would say. I'm not a grader obviously, but the condition is really nice. So I was very happy to get that, and a good price as well. Right, on to my last little section now. This is some recent store exclusives of some of the major books that have been coming out recently. Starting off with this issue of Deceased number 1. This is the Shannon Mayer cover. This was an exclusive here in the UK to Sad Lemon Comics, but I think it was one of those where UK comic dealers and American comic dealers both had copies of these to sell, but in the UK it was Sad Lemon, who's one of my favourite online retailers. I'm a big fan of Shannon Mayer's ever since I first saw my first piece of artwork that he'd done. So whenever I see one of these exclusives, particularly if it's at a good price like this was, I think I paid less than £10 for this, I'm going to be all over it. Really beautiful Harley Quinn. And I think copies of these are actually still available if you want to get hold of one. So that's Deceased number 1, Shannon Mayer exclusive. And this is Deceased number 2, Shannon Mayer exclusive as well. The Wonder Woman there. Really, really nice covers. I also picked up this Deceased number 1 exclusive as well. This is by, and I hope I pronounced this right, Ji-Hyun Lee. This was actually from Forbidden Planet. Now, if you listen to the Facebook groups, these are always full of horror stories of Forbidden Planet. And yes, there are times when they're not very good at fulfilling their orders, but I've always found them to be pretty good, and I would say that 95% of my pre-orders and purchases have always been honoured. This was something that I actually jumped on quite late, but it turned up fine, so I don't really have an issue with them, although I can understand, you know, some people's grumbles that they have with Forbidden Planet. But there you go, it's horses for courses. I think a lot of people have trouble with Forbidden Planet when a book comes out and then it becomes a hot book. Maybe Forbidden Planet are still advertising it for sale and then people try to jump on it, but because all of a sudden it becomes a hot spec book, they probably get a massive influx of orders which they obviously can't fulfill. That's the only reason I can think why people wouldn't get their orders from Forbidden Planet, because all of my books that I've pre-ordered, and I've pre-ordered them in good time, I've never had an issue with them. So I'd be interested to know what you think if you use Forbidden Planet or you've used them in the past. If you've had problems, you know, what issues have you had with them? Right, my final book for this video is another Ji-Hyun Lee. And this is Batman Detective Comics 1000. A really nice cover. This, unfortunately, I didn't get in the UK. I actually bought this from America, so I did pay the postage for it. There was a bit of a premium on it. But I like the cover so much that I just had to have it. And I think it's a really nice cover. So that's it for this video. Like I said, and we're running at about 25 minutes, which is plenty enough time for a video, I think. So I've got another couple of big piles of books similar to the ones that I've shown you today. That will be a separate video. Hopefully I'll get that filmed tomorrow. I'm at home again tomorrow, so I'll get that done. And I will let you know as well, I've got some books on order that are going to start filtering through now. These are exclusives, store exclusives, that have now been released, and I'm just waiting for these to come. Some of them are coming from America, so there's going to be a bit of a delay with them. And I will say that there's a book that's recently been released, I think it was last week, and I think I'm confident in saying that it's the book that I've bought the biggest number of different covers in my whole collecting life. I won't say what it is, but you'll see the videos when those books arrive. So I'm looking forward to doing that. Another idea that I've had for a video, and I want to know what you guys think, whether you think it's something you'd like to see, is I was looking at some books the other day and I came across one of my books that was a black cat cover. And it got me thinking, I've got quite a lot of books that feature Black Cat on the cover, the character. So I thought that would maybe make a pretty good video. Some of them are older books, some of them are newer books. I think it was when it was the new Black Cat series that was recently released, the first issue. I think that's what gave me the idea. So if that's something you'd like to see in a future video, please let me know in the comments. If you think it'd be boring and you don't want to see it, then let me know as well, and I won't bother doing it. But that's just something that I've got that's been kind of going around my head as a possibility. So guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for putting up, if you've put up with this for 25, nearly 30 minutes, thanks ever so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please give me a thumbs up. And if you've got anything you want to comment on the video, please leave your comments down below. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Let me get those subscriber numbers so that they're above the 250, so that I can do a competition for you guys and do a giveaway. I'll do a nice little prize for the winner of that. And until the next time, which will hopefully be tomorrow, take care of yourselves and enjoy your comics. Bye for now.